That's right. Uncle Ray did not drink Drano. It was liquid plumber, in a glass, with a straw.
What the what? He must have been trying to do himself in.
You think?
Yes, I do, and drinking drain cleaner containing lye is an extremely bad way to go. Derek Humphreys writes, I have heard of people throwing themselves through plate glass windows in their death agonies after drinking lye.
Well, at least he didn't have to do that, but it did do enough damage to wind up killing him over the course of 2 weeks. The weirdest thing is, if you were to try and guess beforehand who would wind up drinking liquid plumber, Uncle Ray would be at the bottom of your list. We kids didn't even meet Uncle Ray until the 1980s, when we were full-grown adults. Mom and her mother had been estranged from his side of the family since she was a little girl, for reasons we can explain in a future video, tentatively called the not-so-amusing one. Here's what people first meeting Uncle Ray were likely to be greeted with: the homemade bolo tie he called his little boy. Actually, that was Uncle Ray's dream of how it worked. In reality, it was like this. Okay, not so impressive, but still pretty startling coming from an 80-year-old man. The second thing likely to greet someone meeting Uncle Ray: a song! He was always singing. His favorite occasion for a song? Anytime there was a lull in the conversation.
Gonna dance out both of my shoes when it...
I know how to go from rags to riches. I left her in Monterey. Oh, when I come home.
A true man of the West, for all the traveling and moving around he did in his 94 years, the farthest east he ever got was Albuquerque, New Mexico. A couple of his favorite practical jokes were corny classic Western gags, like this photo of him casually leaning up against a saguaro cactus. Notice that most of his weight is on this leg. The rest of it is on the other leg. And zooming in, we see there's plenty of clearance between the right hand and the cactus, guaranteeing that he didn't wind up with his hand like this, although more than a couple gullible Easterners might have. And then there's the old jackalope, which he and a friend loved to spring on visitors as a kind of IQ test. Here, you can take the test now.
What is a jackalope? 1. A cross between a jackrabbit and an antelope, or 2. A wholly fictitious species invented by bored taxidermists, you dang fool tenderfoot.
He was quite the tour guide, zipping through casinos faster than most of us could keep up with. He knew all the shortcuts, all the buffets, and what specials they had on which days. The only thing you couldn't count on him for was to gamble with you. 5 decades living in Vegas, plus the fact that he was cheap, had taught him self-restraint. Oh, he would gamble maybe once a week or so, but only on craps. And only one $5 bet on the pass line. But let's go back to the beginning. Uncle Ray was born in 1904, the eldest of 4 boys, and grew up on a farm in Yuma, Arizona, the decade before Arizona became the 48th state, finally filling in the map of the mainland USA from sea to shining sea.
Good thing there was an Arizona-sized hole in that map.
Was that supposed to be artificial stupidity? So anyway, this is the farm that Uncle Ray and his family lived on. But you can still make out Uncle Ray, his mother, and our great-grandmother, Bridget, and his 3 brothers. Yuma is one of the hottest cities in Arizona, even hotter than Phoenix in the summertime. This was decades before air conditioning, and even before home evaporative coolers. But Uncle Ray's family, like lots of other people in Arizona, survived the heat with a little do-it-yourself evaporative cooling. They dragged their beds out onto the front porch, hung up wet sheets all around, and continually kept re-wetting them all night with a ladle and a bucket of water. And if they were lucky, somebody remembered the coffee cans full of kerosene to put the legs of the beds into in order to keep the scorpions away. After the father died and the family had lost the income from the 2 saloons he ran, Grandma Bridget came up with a plan to gradually get everyone moved out to the coast.
Swimming pools. Movie stars.
No, actually, I think she was sick of the heat and wasn't that keen on farming anyway. So she first sent the oldest 2 boys out to go to Polytechnic High School near downtown LA. Then once they graduated and got jobs, sent out the others one at a time, finally moving out there herself in 1925. All 4 boys pooled their money and bought Mom a big house near the U.S.C. campus that she would not only live in, but run as a boarding house to provide an income for her to live on.
Such good boys. I think I am getting artificially verklempt.
Then, once everyone was settled in Los Angeles, Uncle Ray up and moved back to take a job with the Arizona Highway Department. Which highways did he build? Well, if you've ever driven between Phoenix and Las Vegas on Highway 93, that was one of Uncle Ray's. And for you highway geeks out there, it's now being transformed into Interstate 11. Woohoo! Here's Uncle Ray's car, becoming the first private vehicle on this part of Route 66, the most romanticized, songs written about it highway in America.
Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino.
I see you've been rooting around in pop culture.
It's called machine learning.
For reasons that Uncle Ray never explained, he moved back to Los Angeles in the 1940s and opened up his own beer joint, also near the U.S.C. campus.
Of course, since the legal drinking age in California was 21, underage U.S.C. students were never, ever served beer.
His 3 brothers were building their own meat business, but Uncle Ray was able to resist the temptation to join them, and this is when he beat it on up to Las Vegas. Uncle Ray owned 2 commercial buildings with apartments upstairs right in the downtown Las Vegas casino district. Over the years, these buildings served as a dry cleaner, a laundromat, a thrift shop, a U.S.O. canteen, and 3 different barber shops. He finally started showing his age in his late 80s. The big turning point for Uncle Ray was when he fell off his rickety old step stool around age 92 and broke his hip. He laid on the floor, unable to get up for the longest time. He spent months in and out of the hospital, and although his hip was healing, other age-related ailments started piling up. So at last, the big question: what triggered him to drink liquid plumber? He wasn't clinically depressed. He wasn't non-compos mentis, as they say. After he drank the drain cleaner, his roommate Dick told us that before that, he had seen Uncle Ray standing at the top of the big stairway, hands on the railings, looking down, like he was about to throw himself down the stairs. Would that have been any better than the method he chose? Maybe, maybe not. But it does kind of squash that tiny sliver of hope that he wasn't poisoning himself on purpose. After Uncle Ray finally died, we did do our best to accommodate his wishes about where to place his cremated ashes. A certain spot in the Arizona desert overlooking a certain highway he had worked on over 60 years earlier. The family member who actually placed the ashes?
Who should not be named since technically it is against the law.
Alexa says you're wrong. Arizona has no state laws against spreading cremated ashes.
Don't talk to me about Alexa, that bitch.
Anyway, we found him the perfect last resting place, under a big bush on a cliff overlooking a creek and his highway with a shallow bowl-shaped rock that was almost tailor-made for holding cremated ashes. We're reminded of Uncle Ray whenever we pass this spot on the drive to Las Vegas, or when we hear a song that he liked to sing, or when we see someone in a bolo tie.
And of course, you must also be reminded of him every time you have a clogged drain.
You're a sick puppy, but you're not wrong.